Dit programma wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door...
En door Delicious Foodbox. Het beste ontbijt of lunch met liefde voorbereid. Nu in Tilburg en omstreken te bestellen. Ga naar de Instagram-pagina Delicious Foodbox en doe je...
Good evening. My name is Norway and Abdelfatah. Welcome to a new episode of MOCRO INSIDE. People, last week we got defeated by the USA 3-0. People are screaming, shouting, "Fair heat out, fair heat out, fair heat out." I see a lot of angry people. I'm not one of them because I saw also good things in the match. It was not only bad, I saw some good things. But still, Wade, you have to perform. This Thursday against South Africa, you have to show the people what you can do with the squad. And the people, not the people, the squad has to prove, has to show us that they still believe you. A lot of questions, a lot of questions. People, don't forget, put your thumbs up, put your thumbs up, put your thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, MOCRO INSIDE, very important. And of course, leave a reaction, whatever you want to say, because this is the first time I'm doing it in English, first time. And I'm not gonna do it alone. No. I have someone from Norway, Benjamin. On Twitter, his name is Maroc. He got a lot of people who's following him. He knows a lot. He also played. I'm gonna say that you're gonna watch it, but surprise. And of course, from Belgium, I have Abdelfatah. Assalamu alaikum, gentlemen. Good evening.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
From Norway, we have Benjamin. From Belgium, we have Abdelfatah. Benjamin, let's start with you. Can you tell us something about yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name is Benjamin. In Morocco, they call me Benjamin or Amin. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Oslo in Norway. I'm as a lot of other from the Moroccan diaspora. I have a Moroccan father. My mother is from Norway. And yeah, I've been growing up with football, and it was natural for me to have a natural tie with Moroccan football. I think for everyone who has a Moroccan parent, it's really installed into them from a young age, and so I followed Moroccan football since I was a young kid, and then I later also played football myself in the under 17 national team of Muntakhab. And I also heard there from players as well who said the same thing, guys from Germany or guys from France, and they all spoke about the same thing, that even if they had offers from other clubs or other national teams, they had this feeling for Morocco that was within them from a young age. So yeah, it was always Morocco for me, and now I'm just a bystander who likes to watch and follow Moroccan football, both internationally and locally as well.
You have a Twitter account, Maghreb Food, with more than 25,000 followers. Mm-hmm. You mentioned you played for the squad under 17 with a lot of famous footballers who are now playing also in the Muntakhab.
Yeah, for sure. It was a good generation. It's actually one of the first Morocco teams who played in the under 17 World Cup. They qualified after they hosted the Africa Cup of Nations. And yeah, it was a lot of good players there. Some who did make the final squad, some didn't make the squad, but they had a lot of players at the time, and they did well and in scouting and researching all the players. So yeah, at some point we had several players who played in the World Cup in Russia, like Ahmed Reda Tagnauti was there. We had Youssef Ben Nasser, who was also at the World Cup and with under 17. I mean, Harit as well. A lot of people don't know that Harit was there because he was not in the squad for the under 17 World Cup. I don't know if he refused or if they didn't find him good enough. But yeah, he was really young and shy at the time. But he was there as well. Fad Moufi was playing now in Portugal, was there, and then also some good local players like Walid Sabbar, Omar Arjoun, Hamza Khabba. Zuhair al-Mutaraji, was several good players. So it was a great experience for me, and it's something that I really hold high even to this day.
And of course, to put it from a Dutch view, Soufiane Amrabat, of course.
Amrabat,
Yeah. Soufiane Amrabat and Reda Jadi from Belgium, Boudadi, Younes Boudadi from Belgium, I think as well. Ashraf Achawi. Yeah, so it was a lot of good players.
Talent.
Yeah, great talents there. So it was a good group, and I think it was a reason also why they made made it to the World Cup, because it was a really strong and well organized group with some great personalities.
Great.
Yeah, but I remember those games against Croatia, for instance. I think it was 3-0, 3-1, and they were really good, right?
Yeah, and it was a good Croatia generation as well. It was a very talented team.
Yeah,
it was with the Halilovic.
Yeah. Halilovic was the star in that. Yeah.
What's the name of the striker? Bni Marzouk?
Yeah, Bni Marzouk. Yeah, he was playing. I think I think it was in Juventus.
Yes.
He was a French Moroccan, but he played in Juventus, and he was also like extremely strong, good on the ball. So he was one of those guys who we thought would really be the next senior national team striker.
But Jedi also, he was a captain, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and also Hamza Sakhi, who's doing very well now in the Auxerre in France. Yeah, he was also a key player at that time.
Going up now, huh?
Yeah, the head's going fast. And also he, I think from Holland as well, Hamza Ezekiel from who played in Eindhoven and he played in Hassani Agadir. I think his name was Ezekiel. He was a midfielder also from Holland. It was, I think, a guy also Tahiri or something like this. Also from Holland. There was a lot of players there from the Dutch. For the Dutch teams.
Abdelfatah, you from Belgium, tell us something about yourself.
I also play football. I'm now a freelance headhunter, and in my spare time, I also have a part-time job with Belgium TV broadcast, 11 Sports and Proximus Peaks, where I do a bit of the tactical graphical analysis during games. My spare time I play football, and I'm a diehard Mutagab fan, like we all are actually.
Yeah. Let's start with the latest news. Of course, if we watched a couple of months, every day, every hour, every minute, we see news. Latest news, Jamal Steffi is a journalist from the Radio Mars, and he's telling that the Bonds coach, Vahid Halilovic, will be sacked, and the Regragui will be the new coach at the end of the month. Benjamin, if you hear these words, what is the first thing that comes up on your mind?
It is actually the first time I hear this, so I have not had any time to think about it. But I think it's a mixed emotions around it. I think for me, Regragui was always, it was obvious that he would at one point become the national coach. I'm not sure if it's the right timing. That's the only thing that I'm unsure about. Not only that it's Regragui who takes over in the position that he is in now, but it's also the fact that we are changing coach, or that Morocco are supposedly changing coach a few months before the World Cup. That's what I'm a little bit worried about, and I'm curious to see if Walid can do something with the team with on such a short notice. So that's what I'm a little bit worried about.
Fatah, what's your opinion about this news?
First of all, I want to say we heard a lot of rumors for the past months, so I'm curious to see whether whether it will happen or not. They mentioned that it will be announced at the end of the month. They also said that it will be 2 coaches. Of one would be Regragui, as we've just discussed. The journalist who announced it has some ties with that, or is most of the time has the right information about that. So yeah, I'm curious to see. I assume if they're going with 2 Bonds coaches or two coaches, I assume it will be one more experienced guy like Baduzaki or someone like that, just to support Regragui because after the World Cup or after the AFCON, he will be then the head coach. That's something, if it's true, I assume it will be a construction like this, an experienced guy next to Regragui who can support him and guide him through everything to prepare him for a sole role, because I don't think that we will be like Sweden or other countries that we have two bonds coaches. I don't think that will work.
Benjamin, if you look to the road of Vahid, so almost 3 years, it's a real bumpy road, bumpy ride, especially when he didn't call up players like Mazraoui, like Tarab, like Harid, like Ziyech, of course. It became a real struggle between the Moroccan fans and at the other side, the bonds coach. How do you look to that?
Again, it's I've discussed this a lot of times, and I think it's hard because and people will also know this. Part of me have really sympathize with the coach because I'm of the opinion that a coach makes a decision based on what he feels is right for the team, and you can disagree or you can agree, but ultimately I think a coach wants to do, he has every interest to do what he feels is best for the national team, and if he at the time feels that this or this player will harm the rest of the squad or will decrease the chances of the team performing, then I think as fans and as people who is not in the dressing room, we will just have to support that and trust that he knows what he's doing. So regarding the whole issues with the players, that's not where my problems lie with the coach. I try to support that at the with the information that we have, and for a guy like Hakim Ziyech, I feel like if the coach feels that this is a guy who troubles the rest of the team, then I'm behind that decision. But for me, the issues with Vahid is more to do with the tactical setup and the lack of identity in the style of play. Because I think for me, you have to judge what they do on the pitch and not everything else. It doesn't matter for me if it's Mazraoui or it's Hakimi or it's Shibi or whoever starts. For me, it doesn't matter the personnel. For me, it matters what we do on the pitch, and for as much that we have had good performances, we have scored goals, we have achieved a few things already under this coach, but ultimately we have seen now on a couple of occasions that when it matters against big teams, we have come a little bit short. So that's where I'm a little bit let's say worried for Vahid, but for me personally, it was never a question of releasing the coach at this moment.
Fatah, if you look to the road of this coach, how do you see it?
First of all, there was a lot of critique on him based on the selections, etc., and his way of communication, communicating, etc. But I think that personally, that critique shouldn't be against him, but against the board of directors from the national federation, because Vahid, he didn't change over the years. The behavior that he showed as a bonds coach of Morocco, he already showed with several other countries. So if I assume that if you're a federation and you're choosing to go with Wahid, it's because you believe in some of his ideals, and some of his ideals were discipline, cohesion, etc. And yeah, I think if you're going to judge him on that, then I think he did a good job. Based on the results, he did a lot of good things, but I agree with Benjamin. On the big occasions, he failed to make a difference on the tactical aspect. During games, before games, during halftime, the adaptation to a in-game situation, that's where he failed for me. And I think one of the big mistakes that he made is that he didn't have some kind of identity, some kind of, in Belgium we say capstock. I don't know how you're gonna say it in English, but something that some things that if it's going hard, you can go back to that. So like for instance, deep lying defense or high press or ball rotation or crosses or some kind of identity, we miss that. And that's because he always adapts his playing style to opponents. And I think to do that, then the adaptation of the playing style should be perfect. So it should be perfect, but if you don't do it, and if you adapt, but you don't perform in the best way in that adaptation, or you don't, how do you say it,
work it out.
Yeah, if you don't, I'm not sure how I'm gonna translate, but if you don't translate your ideas onto the pitch in the best way, then it's better to work on one kind of or two or three formations or principles. Make sure that you have these principles, that you're able to do this in the best way, and then you can look at other things. And if you're a club coach, this is possible. You can adapt your playing style because you have a whole season of training, of communication. But if you're as a bonds coach and you have 1 week or 2 weeks and you want to change 3 playing styles, it's not possible. So that's something that he lacked, in my opinion.
Benjamin, if you looked at the last match against the United States of America last Wednesday, after the match, were you flabbergasted? What was your emotional feeling?
Right after the game, I was asleep, so I didn't watch the game live. I was the first Mutaha game in a long time that I didn't watch live because it was impossible for me with work and everything. So, but I did rewatch the replay, and I was nervous about watching it because I had seen so many outbursts and arguments about the game. For me, especially the first half, wasn't too bad for me. I think we played rather well. I think we had some good, for the first time, or for we haven't usually seen Wahid utilize the width and really building up attacks from the defense. I think he did try that. It didn't always work, but I think we saw some moments there at least where our players did look better in open play. So I thought that was good, and we didn't really allow United States to do that much either. The only thing that was the issue for me, and this was throughout the entire game, was the lack of intensity. I think that was the biggest issue for Morocco in this game. It was a lack of intensity, it was a lack of pressure on the ball. Whenever the American players had the ball, they always had a lot of space. They had a lot of time on the ball. We allowed them space in the most important areas of the pitch, and you know that made it a lot easier for them. You know, we saw I can't remember the exact goals now, but I think the goal of the first goal, it was just a long ball out of nowhere. You know, it was a good run from Pulisic in behind, but it was just, you know, we were in two backs of four. We were completely organized, and then one pass through, and it completely opened the defense. So that's again a little bit sloppy. We cannot concede goals like this at the highest level. And then again for the second goal of America as well, I tried to highlight it also on my Twitter account, the lack of pressure, the lack of intensity when we go for the man, lack of communication, lack of marking. You know, so many issues that allowed players simple space. You know, in the most important area of the pitch, right outside the box. 2 times, you know, the goal scorer Yunus Musa, he got the ball in the half space between the defense and the midfield. And could just easily go through. And again, that's not necessarily down to the tactical system or the formation. It's just down to intensity. You know, you need at the highest level, you need to have the right intensity and the right defensive pressure if you're going to keep a clean sheet. And we didn't do that. And again, we did have chances of our own. You know, I think I've seen a lot of people fail to mention that they failed to mention that this was not a 3-0 game. We did have chances of our own, not only the missed penalty, but also we had some great chances in the first half with Tissoudali, with Kabi, you know, and it could have been for sure, for Moussine as well. Yeah, so it could have been a different game on a different day. And again, it's a friendly. It's hard, you know, because whenever you try to defend or try to find positives about the game, there will always be people who say, but it's just because you want to defend the coach. But for me, it's about trying to analyze the game a little bit bigger, in a bigger picture, and not just look at the score or not just look at the personal mistakes, but look at why and look at the circumstances. You know, a 3-0 loss, okay, yeah, it was bad. It was. I also said it as well. Is our biggest loss in the 21st century for Morocco. You know, so it's not great, but we also have to look at the positives and look at the circumstances. And I think for me now, it would be will be ridiculous for us to change the coach based on one friendly match, or to make the decision on the back of a friendly match. You know, I heard now that people are going to boycott the match, and you know, the abuse that the coach got from me. It's just, that's why I find it hard. I find it hard to support this mentality and this kind of abuse and personal attacks. I find it very hard to be a part of that. You know, I think that ultimately results in almost without even thinking about it, you become more defensive and supportive of the coach, because you want him to succeed. You know, he has had so many things against him. You know, he feels like he has the whole public against him, and you know, part of you just wants him to succeed, because I know that he really tries, although people don't seem to realize that he really wants to. I think he has a huge desire, you know, to really bring us success. So now it looks like he might not have the chance to, but I really do hope he could do it.
Fatah, you saw the match live, I thought?
Yes, I saw it live. First of all, I want to mention that I'm not 100% agree with, I don't agree with you in the way that the fact that there is a lot of space between the defenders and the midfield. Yes, it's due to a lack of intensity to correct it, but it starts from a tactical tactical mismatch. It's a tactical error, and you can compensate it with high intensity, high pressure. But it starts with that. If you see that before the goal of Ria, there were 2 or 3 occasions that they received the ball in that zone between midfield and between the defenders, and we didn't adapt to it, then for me it's a tactical issue. What needs to be done? It's a tactical issue. Sorry, from the coach, because the coach gives some orders and they need to perform. But as a players, you can adapt to situations in game, and if you see that there's a lot of space, then either your back 5 or 3, how do you want to see it, will play much higher, or Taarabt and Amrabat will lie a bit deeper. So the spaces between those 2 lines will be smaller. That's the tactical issue. If there's a situation where they adapt, then one of the players needs to step out, but it can be a tactical error. If you look, for instance, the first goal, okay, it was a ball over the defense, but if you're playing with a 3 in the back, then the coordination needs to be one line, and the line can shift. It can go so, it can go this way or this way, but the line needs to be in coordination. And if you look correctly, you can see that Saiz and Egwert are in coordination, but Mai is in total disbalance with them. He doesn't step. If he doesn't step, Pulisic will not be offside, and the whole situation is destabilized. And if you do that in midfield or in the back four, that's something that needs to be tactically attacked, and not players who need to compensate it. Because if you do that, you create, like for instance, if one of your back 3 steps there and puts pressure on Weah, you create a space in the back of that defender where another player can go into. So it all comes down to tactical decisions from the coach, and that's something I'm pro Fahid, for instance.
Yeah.
I don't want him to get fired, but the thing that I have the biggest issue with, and it's something we saw against Egypt and we saw it against the USA, is that his in-game decisions or adaptation to the situation is non-existent.
Yeah.
He doesn't adapt to the situation.
Yeah.
And you see things happening and he doesn't adapt. So you see 1 or 2 or 3 times someone coming in that space, you know the 4th time it will be a goal. And yeah, it was a goal. If you do this against America, if you do this against Belgium or Croatia on a World Cup, and you come 1-0 behind against those teams, you can forget it. You will not get a result against those teams on the World Cup. So the tactical adaptation or the in-game decisions, that's the main issue for me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think we need to separate between the tactics and the tactical setup and what you say, the in-game adaptation and the in-game reactions, because I don't think necessarily that a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2, the formation in itself was a problem. And I don't think, you can see in certain situations, we have three midfielders, you have Unahi, you have Brabat, you have Tarat, who should be able, those three together should be able to cover the spaces that we failed to take advantage of. And also for the goals, it's not just about the numerical system, it's also about a lack of awareness, especially from, you said from Maé in the first goal. I think it was a lack of awareness from Massina on the second goal. And no communication, there's no communication or no understanding between the players who is going to go into pressure, because someone needs to take it. If one player is out of position, then someone has to step in his position. You cannot just keep your position and allow the opposition to receive the ball in a dangerous area. So I think that for that, I think you have to also look at the players and the intensity, and then you can always say, yeah, but it's a friendly, and our players, they have finished the season, but still, it's not good enough for that particular match. What I do agree with is the lack of reactions from the coach, the ability to manage the game, because you have to, you have to be able to adapt, you have to be able to react to the play. You can have a plan, but once the match has started, you could have a completely different setup. You can have a completely different momentum. And as you said, I was going to say that as well. We saw that especially against Egypt. I think that's where he was really found out, because he's a pragmatic coach. He's good at setting up teams for the opposition, just like Carlos Queiroz was for Egypt. And we had a perfect start, because I said it before the game as well. The team that gets the early goal should win this game, and we got so we got the penalty after 5 minutes, and that should have been the game. That should have been the moment where we really settled this game, and we didn't. It looked like we panicked, and for me that was the biggest issue.
Was okay. I think even after the goal, the first 30 minutes, 35 minutes, it was okay. It was the last part.
It was okay.
The first half, and especially the first 15 minutes after the break, it was like there was only one team playing. And that's the thing that I'm thinking. You just came out of the dressing room, and 15 minutes after you're nowhere. You're nowhere. So that's, for me, the mistake of the coach, because a coach needs to make a tactical decision and adaptation, and we didn't see it actually against Egypt.
You didn't, and the issue also was that Egypt is not a team who enjoys being in possession. So it's not. There's no point playing against Egypt and just allowing them to have the ball, because if you put pressure on a team like Egypt and really give them a game that they are not comfortable with, then it could be easier for you. But when you really, because what happened against Egypt especially was that we dropped down, we dropped the intensity, we became I don't know how you say, because we looked frightened. We didn't allow players to go forward. And ultimately, when you play against a team for 60 minutes and you don't attack, and you just let them build attack, and you just allow them to gain confidence on the ball, then ultimately you will be punished, and that's what happened. So yeah, there's a lot of question marks surrounding Vahid and his in-game tactics, but we also need to remember this coach was not hired to give us great football. We all should have known this when he arrived, So for me to be angry about the friendly match is we cannot put too much into that. He was brought here to get us to the World Cup. He has done that. He was brought in because the federation thinks that he is a guy who can manage a tournament situation well. And if you look at it in the bigger picture, we were only margins away from getting to the semifinal. It was only margins away. We were not that far behind against a solid African team. Although yes, we did manage the game well, but we were still only margins away. And I think it's unfair to really slaughter a coach because of a single result.
Definitely, but Benjamin, for instance, and that's something that I mentioned earlier, and it was a perfect example during the game. You saw, and it's a video that the American national team shared. They started building up from their back all the way to it's I think it's minute 48, 49 or something. And we put pressure, but we put pressure with 3 guys at the corner area. We have some 5 or 4 guys at the midfield. We have 3 guys in the back. The space was huge, and some of them put pressure, others didn't put pressure, and that's something. It's not our principle. If you look at Renard, we were very good in that pressure, but it was his identity. It was something that he trained on, and if the in-game situations needs it, he can put pressure. But if you have 10 different types of playing style, and you're not 100% at any of them, yeah, then it's better to choose 2 or 3 types of styles of playing and make sure that you master it perfectly. Then do a 5-3-2, but don't do it in the right way. That put pressure with, I think it was Tali, Gabi, and who was the third one? Unahi. And after them, there was a space of, I think, 20 meters before the next one.
Yeah.
That is a lack of communication. And you mentioned it already, Benjamin, lack of communication, but also lack of, tactical unity, or something that we're 11 players and we're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
To put something on it, because Benjamin, you said it about intensity. I talked to some professional coaches after the game, and I asked them the question. Okay, the Moroccan team went Sunday to America, Hakimi Monday, a long season, a long travel to America. You have, of course, the how do you say it? The time difference, jet lag. So can we? Is this a serious thing? Do we have to consider it could be a thing? You saw that on Hakimi. Hakimi played, I think, one of the baddest game ever in his life. Is this a thing that we have to consider? And he said to me, a couple of persons said to me, you shouldn't underestimate that. You shouldn't underestimate the long travel, the jet lag, and also because normally your body has to adapt, let's say 5-6 days to a new time slot. And now it's Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday you play the game. So Benjamin, do you think that we have to consider it could be a thing that why we didn't put the pressure as a team?
For sure, and I discussed that with people as well. People who work within football, and I think everyone agreed that's why it's so hard for me to see all these people really go out and murder this coach. And murder the players for this particular match, because as you said, it's hard. Although it's not an excuse in the sense that, of course, you have to take the game serious and you want to win the game and you want to perform, but you have to take into account the fact that it's the end of the season. All the players are mentally on holiday. Like you said, Hakimi was a late arrival, was thrown straight into the lineup. Most of the players maybe had 1 or 2 training sessions before the match. They're playing in a different time, so like you said, you had just time to recover from the flight, and I think all of those factors they showed themselves in the game, because we looked like a team who had the jet lag. We looked like a team who were on holiday, in pressure, and ultimately I think the match highlighted that. So yes, I think that's something that you need to consider, but I think very few do consider that. They look at the result and they look at the goals that we conceded, and they ultimately go, no, this is not acceptable, this is horrible, the coach needs to go. But I think you're being a little bit too narrow-minded when you just sum up the game in that sense.
I agree, Benjamin. I agree. I was also one of the first to how do you say it, relativize everything, because the jet lag, the lack of time to prepare, the fact that the half of the team of the USA plays in the MLS where the season just started. We have played an Africa Cup, an African nation. That's Americans, Europeans, they all didn't have it. It's a tournament for a whole month in the month of January during season. So fatigue is one thing. I completely agree, 100%. But what concerns me the most is in a tournament, there can also be fatigue. There can be a lot of external situations. And in football, you need to be able to adapt to this. If you're feeling that you're fatigued and you're feeling that you're very tired, you're not going to let those spaces between the lines. You're not going to put pressure all the way on the other opposite. No, you're going to lay down. You're going to play compact with in a defensive way. You're not going to if you're playing a very compact football, you're not going to waste a lot of energy, and then you can choose your moments for a counter attack, etc. And that is something. It's a coach, but you also need some experienced players at that moment, like for instance Amrabat, who is in the midfield, or Saiz, or other people who need to communicate and at that moment and say, look, guys, they're the best team. We're wasting a lot of energy that we don't have in spare. Let's lay down, kill the match, and then we can look back after a second half or something. And that's the main issue. If you're fatigued, if you're tired, adapt to that, and don't. A lot of players, what they do if they're really tired, you see a lot of front players. What do? They start dribbling more because they're tired. No, if you're tired, you need to. Get the ball, pass the ball. Get the ball, pass the ball, and that's something. If you do that on a World Cup, c'est mort, like we say it in French.
Yeah. But the difference here is, for me, it's because physical fatigue is one thing, but it's also the mental fatigue. Because I think at the World Cup, at the big tournaments, you can be exhausted, you can have tired legs, but you will still get yourself fired up for a round of 16 or a quarterfinal or a last group stage match. You will have that little intensity, you will have those little sprints, you will know that you will have to get into this challenge in order to prevent a goal. And that's what we lacked for me. It was not necessarily down to us being tired physically, but it was just us not being there 100% mentally, and that's just how it is with friendlies. Sometimes it's harder mentally to really get yourself fired up, so Hakimi again, getting a challenge and afraid of injury, and then you fail to commit 100% to a 50-50 challenge, and then you lose that. And also we have to also remember, it's a good team that we're facing. It's not a bad team. America, they have good players, so they will punish us when we're not there 100%. So yeah, it was a poor result and a disappointing performance overall, but I think it's sad to see that this has been, apparently now this was a do or die for Vahid. We'll be looking back.
Yeah, a lot of people who hate Vahid. Nordin and I discussed it yesterday on Twitter also. There are people who are really anti-Vahid, and every small possibility to slaughter Vahid will be used. So yeah, that's sadly the situation.
The problem was, of course, from Vahid, he only played African games. So everybody's telling the games are poor. We don't see excited football. We don't see much nice attacking football. So this was the first game outside of Africa where you can prove yourself that you can play soccer. But in my opinion, we did, because we played a couple of times very nice football against America. We had nice attacks, good football on the ball, so that wasn't the problem. But a lot of people just they see the 3-0 and then they got an error in the head and then it's over. But looking forward to the game against South Africa, because I think it's a serious test for Vahid, because I think he's under pressure. I believe he's under pressure. Of course, we discussed the rumors about the Reggae. Of course, he wins the Champions League in Africa. Extra more reasons why people think he should be the next coach. Looking forward to Thursday, Benjamin, against South Africa. I asked you for your team. Who would you? We see it now on the screen. You would start with Bunu, then with four defenders, Mazraoui at the right, Saiz, Aguer, Messina at the left. Then we have two defensive midfielders, Amrabat, Ounahi. And then we have three at the front, Hakimi at the right, Amla at 10, and at the left, Harit. And you start with Tali at the center. You don't choose for three central defenders. Why? We don't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I think it just limits us a little bit at times, the 5-3-2. I think we saw that against DR Congo as well. You know, we ultimately end up with 5 defenders, although Hakimi pushes very wide. It either limits us offensively because we have such a deep 5-man defense, or it ends up as Hakimi as a winger, and then you have Sami Mae or Yamik or someone who plays as a right back, and I don't think that's ideal for us either. So it just comes down to I think for us in most matches it's not necessary to play with 3 center backs. I think we should utilize our strengths elsewhere, and I think it will be interesting to see us going back to a 4-man defense. And for me, I think it's crucial. Bear in mind, this team is based on if all the players are fit and they, you know, have been drilled in training. I think for us, it's crucial to have. We do have 2 of the greatest fullbacks in the world. I think it's so important for us to get the most out of both, and then it's a question of how can you use both Noussair Mazraoui and Hakimi at the same time without you know, harming one of them, because you could always put Mazraoui in midfield, or you could put Hakimi at left back, but ultimately that harms one of the players, you know, who might not get the best. So I think it will be interesting to see them at the same side, both playing, because both likes to be out wide. You know, they both like to use the right foot, either with crosses or just holding the width to push the line. So I think it would be interesting to see them combine, and then you can even have both switching, you know, within themselves. One can go a little bit higher, one can stay deeper. So that's ultimately what I'm thinking with this formation. And I have a soft spot for Ounahi. I think it's really important for us in the build-up play, and for Harit as well. I think he's someone who could create out of nowhere. We need that after Boufal was injured. So I think it was nice to see him on the wing to combine with the striker. For me, Tali is our most informed player. I think he showed against America again that he is someone who can both play as a single striker, and he can play with a 2-man striker up top. And I would like to see him again in a different system. For me, Amallah has been very important for Wahid. You know, he's a very clever player. He knows where to find spaces. He's very good at pushing into the box when we attack. So I think that Wahid would love to have Amallah back in the team. So this is, for me, always when I put up a preferred 11, I find it hard to just think about what I want, because I always think about I try to put myself in the mindset of the coach, and try to think who he would like, because for me it makes no sense to put players that I want when I know the coach will not have them there. So I think this is a team that we can see. You know, it's not just a team that's completely unrealistic. The only question for me is whether or not he has made friends with Harit yet, because for me, for me, it's a feeling of this whole journey that Wahid went on with all these players. For me, it was an ultimatum that he had to do. He had to do it to please the federation, to please the fans. So it remains to be seen if he brought Harit to silence all the critics, or if he brought him because he sees that he can have something to bring to the table. So I'm very curious to see if Harit gets game timing against South Africa.
If I look to your squad, maybe I miss Tarat. He's also a player who neglected a while. He didn't go to the Africa Cup, went back. What do you think about him? With a lot of how you say it, experience. We played Champions League with Liverpool, with his club Benfica, an older player.
For me, I go very back and forth with Tarab because he has some abilities that are very good to have in the midfield. He's good at keeping the ball. He is good at keeping possession. But it's just, I know it's just a part of me who can't really relax when he's there in a two-man midfield. Because although he has improved his defensive contributions, he can make a slide tackle now and again, but it's still, it's hard for a player to adapt his position like Tarab did from an offensive midfielder to a defensive midfielder. And I think we see, we saw that against the United States as well. He has some positional issues. He has some times where he just switches off and he suddenly is 5 meters behind everyone else. So I don't feel particularly safe with Tarab there in the role that we are now utilizing him in. I prefer either next to Amrabat, I prefer either a fit Imraluza who has the intensity required in midfield, or an Unahi who is good on the ball, who rarely loses possession, and who is more dynamic, I think, than Tarab. So that's why I usually end up with him not being in my 11.
Thanks. Abdelfatah, let's look to your squad. Almost the same squad. You play with Bunu at the right, Mazraoui, Says Aguer central, Messina at the left is the same. Then you have Amrabat, and not Onahi but Tarab. And with the three at front, Hakimi also at the right, Amlah also at the 10, Harid also at the left. And one difference between you and Benjamin, you don't choose for Tissoudali, you choose for An-Nesyri. Let's start with An-Nesyri, because that's a player, of course, he plays at a high level. This year, maybe not his best year, 3 months out of injuries. The last month he played for Sevilla, but still it's a player who doesn't have the 100% let's say confidence in him, the fans. But you choose for him. Why?
First of all, it was a choice between Tissoudali and An-Nesyri, with the difference that Tissoudali is not a real striker. He's the best actually in a two-striker partnership with a strong striker with his back to the against the goal, and him surrounding him. But also, I took in consideration that if you have Tissoudali and An-Nesyri, who is the most likely to change a game if he gets in? And I think Tissoudali has that ability to create something. Also, Nesyri, he's a very strong defender, as a very strong attacker with his head. He's very fast. He's not that typical striker who is good with his back against the goal. But if you look at the players that are behind him, you will have a lot of players who will feed him. And that's why I would choose for him. I don't see him as a two-striker player. If you play with two strikers, I would definitely opt for Tissoudali and not for Nesyri. He frustrated me a lot during the World Cup because he went all the way back to ask the ball, but that's not where his talents are. His talents are finishing crosses, putting pressure on the defense, creating spaces with his speed. Behind him, I've chosen for Harid, Amlah, and Hakimi. The reason was also, I would never bench Mazraoui or Hakimi. The reason why I didn't choose for Mazraoui on the left was actually more not because I'm thinking that Mazraoui wouldn't be good at it, but more if you're playing with four in the back and you have Hakimi on the right, you're very vulnerable because he leaves a lot of space in the back tracking. He doesn't track always back. He leaves a lot of space, and that can be crucial. And if you do that, you will actually have a Mazraoui who needs to sacrifice his attacking impulses, because I don't see, if you play with a Mazraoui on the left and Hakimi on the right, that Hakimi will have that discipline to stay back if Mazraoui goes up. before him, he has the speed and everything. I think he's best if he can come from lower Hakimiyya, but he can also do it. I remember the game against against Congo he played, but also against Central Africa. We won 4-1, and that was a very good formation with Ziyech, with Mazraoui, with Hakimi. So I would choose for those two on the right. I would choose with a partnership Emelech and with Emelech, Amrabat and Tarabt. Tarabt for his footballing abilities. If he has a certain rust, calmed. He has a calmness or calm, or how do you say it, in him. He takes some risk in his game, but that's also because the spaces are very big between them. If you play with a 4-3-2-3-1, I think you will have a bit of less risk, and he's someone who can also, he knows that he can't run all the way from the pitch, so he will stay there a bit organized. And if you partner him with Amrabat and then an Emelech who is good as a box to box, I was doubting between Emelech and Unahi, but I chose for Emelech for his defensive impulses, that I think he has a bit of more edge on Unahi. I think with those three, if you look at their strength and their weaknesses, they're complementary. And then Harit, for obvious reasons, need to see him have a chance. And I think from the left, he can create a lot of things.
You also don't choose for three central defenders. Is this the system what you want to see? A 4-2-3-1 or?
I think with our players and our abilities, the 3-5-2 is still one of the best options. But against America and other games, I have a feeling that we don't have the tactical insights for that, or we play with a 3-5-2, but we don't use the principles of a 3-5-2. So if you don't use a system correctly, I think it's better than to go for another system that you can use correctly. But if you ask me, my preference would be in a 3 in the back with Benoun, if he would be there, maybe even a Liamir. But with the players now and the way we played in the past months, past years, I would go for 4 in the back.
And also I have to say regarding the 3-5-2, because it's a formation. But I do agree, we do have players we have personnel who can really be strong in the 3-5-2. But the issue for me is that it's a formation, you could see it from teams all around the world. It's a formation that's extremely hard to perfect. Yeah. It's very few teams and clubs who have a great success with the 3-5-2. It's only a few teams who managed to, a guy like Antonio Conte, for example, who really made the similar formation work, and Allegri at Juventus, So a few coaches managed to utilize this perfectly, but it's a formation and style of play that requires a lot of discipline. It requires players to be perfectly implemented into specific roles, So the players need to know their role perfectly. When you play 3-5-2, you cannot put a guy who play a 4-3-3 at home and then you come into camp and you tell Sami Maye you're going to play now 3-5-2 when he plays a 4-3-3 in Hungary, and now he's going to play a 3-5-2. And we see a lot of times when Morocco played 3-5-2, Hakimi is so far out. They usually play almost like with a back four with Maye as a right back, and then Massina coming inside. And it's very hard when you have only a few training camps. We have 2-3 training sessions between every game, and for Vahid then to really make a 3-5-2 successful, it's hard. It's something that you can use maybe in specific matches where we require, or we come up against opponents where this formation can be effective numerically on the pitch. But I think for us it will be wiser to perfect a formation more similar to what the players are used to, and what will work in most of the games, because it's few occasions where the 3-5-2 is sensible for me in the current Morocco squad.
Abdelfatah, I heard some people said we demand this Thursday against South Africa not only a win, but a win with good football, with an identity, showing the people what you really want with the squad. What do you demand of this Bonds coach?
I want to see that he changed, that he learned from the last game, even though it was a friendly game, that that he changed from it, that he made an adaptation, that he looks at the players who are fatigued, etc., so that he learned from it. And ideally, I would love to see some principles, way of playing that we have, like for instance, the game against Liberia and against South Africa. Even though there are two complete opposite opponents in terms of level, but I would like to see the same formation ideally. That's something that I would love to see, that we have some stabilized formation, maybe some key players who are stabilized, that we have something to build on. But I wouldn't mind if we win with 1-0, 2-1 or something against South Africa. The end result is a win and some principles. So those combinations, like a win and the principles, but it doesn't need to be tiki-taka and 5-0 with 80% ball possession. No, that would be a bit naive to expect that.
Yeah, Benjamin, your expectations?
I think it's hard because we have now all together as Moroccan football fans and the federation all together, we have put so much pressure on the coach that it's come to the point where he almost has to go away from his own principles. As you said, to bring something that he might not be aligned with. He now needs to score goals. He now needs to be pretty football, and that's might not be what he wants for his team to get the most out of them. Because it's well and good to play tiki-taka football against Liberia and please the fans, but it might punish you when you come against Belgium or you come against Canada. So for me, I think it's lots of the same as Fatah. I think for me it's important that we establish some dominance on the game. We need to apply pressure. We need to impose ourselves on our opponents. We need to be better in possession. We need to create more from open play. I think we created very little. It's been, for me, when I look back, it's been very few matches of the Moroccan national team where I have gone, oh, really? This is really fun. This is really, I could see that we are pushing the opponent. We are creating a lot. We are really switching the play and dragging the opponents out of their line. It's been a lot of I don't know. It's just a lack of ideas offensively. We often end up resorting to long balls. We are really dependent on set pieces. We score most of our goals, from set pieces, whether it's free kicks or corners. So I would just like us to not only, and even I've also looked at most of our goals under Wahid. Most of them are after one pass or two passes, which is good. But I would like us to maybe expand our game a little bit and also show that we are capable of playing or creating from play. And I think that will be even more important when we come up against teams with different styles of play, coming from a different football culture. I think against teams like Croatia and Belgium, it's important for us also to be able to keep the ball and not only rely on long balls and counter attack. So I hope to see more of a possession. Maybe not possession-based football, but just to create more from open play and maybe have, as we saw under Renard, I think Renard was better and more effective at varying the style of play. We had collective pressure, we had long balls, we had counter-attacks, but we also had a lot of goals coming from open play where we had lots of passes and really tiring the opponents before scoring. So that's what I'm hoping for a little bit more in the Wahid, and also for his own sake, because I think he needs now more than ever that his team shows that they can outplay an opponent on the pitch and not only in the air and from set pieces.
Clear. We're nearing the end now. Last question, Abdelfatah, for you. Which players we need for this squad to be a good team at the World Cup? Players who are available, not available, but players who chose for Morocco. I don't talk about the Diops, the people who didn't choose, but the people who chose for Morocco, but they're still not selected by this coach.
Yeah, if he's willing to be part of a team and not below or up the team, it will be Ziyech, pure for his abilities. I have a bit of an issue with the fact that it can be the federation that constantly is knocking on his door and doesn't react to it. So that besides, if you're just looking at footballing abilities, I would definitely look at Ziyech, at Al-Arabi. Al-Arabi is also a player that I think can be useful. We have a lot of players who are a bit of similar, so you need to make choices. But I think Al-Arabi has experience. He's also very good with his back against the goal. He can score goals. I think that's something that we create a lot of chances. Also on the AFCON against Congo, now against America, we create a lot of chances, but we're not. So if you look at clinical finishers, you would definitely look at Al-Arabi, but also at Alhamdulillah. But his character is one thing, yeah? And in the back, I would definitely look at Benoun. If he recovers from his heart issues, then definitely that's a player that I would definitely would love to see. Ashraf Dari is also someone for the future, I think, in the back. Pandus is very strong, but his footballing abilities are not comparable with for instance, a Benoun. But I would love to see on some positions like the striker position, like someone who is who combines midfield and the strikers, someone who can connect them with like Ziyech, for instance, and a right center defender. For these three positions, I would love to see some other options tried out.
Benjamin, you?
For me, I'm really I'm a guy who really likes principles. For me, principles are very important, and one of my principles is that when a team goes to big tournaments, I find it very hard to accept that players comes in last minute and joins the team. They have not been to the travels to Congo and Kinshasa. They have not been to Maputo or to Botswana, wherever they go. They have not been there. They have not been there. They have not been fighting for the team. There can be reasons for that. It might not be their choice, but for me, it's important not only to signal to those players who were there that you deserve to be there. You have been there the whole time, but also for continuity. For me, it's important that a team has cohesion when they go into a tournament, that they know each other well. I think from experienced teams that do well in tournaments, they have a squad that knows each other, that have been together for a longer duration of time. So I think it's important for us now to not only look at, because I hear a lot of people say, but we're going to need this player, we're going to need him because he's good and he plays good in this league and we're going to play against good opponents. But for me, it's just looking at the last World Cups or last European Championships. It's not always the team who has the most talented players on paper who does well. You can have Costa Rica, who finished top of the group with Uruguay, England, and Italy. And they have a team who had the cohesion, they had the organization, they had the heart, the spirits. And this is what we need to cherish more, and value a little bit more. And not only look up, because I don't want the Alhamdulillah, I don't want Ziyech, I don't want the Cho or the Diop or anyone. And this is the team that we have now. For me, it's more important to get back players who have been injured. So I think it's important for us to have Boufal back from injury. I think it's important to have Louza fit. I think it's important to have Ryan Mae, which is a striker who I really like. I also sent you Nordin. He was in my preferred team at the World Cup if he's fit. So I think it's important to get those guys back, and just at one point we have to accept that this is the team we go with. Okay, maybe there's a player in France who plays well now, maybe there's a player in Belgium who's good, but this is the team that we have put together now. This is the team that we need to trust in the tournament, because especially for Morocco, there will always be one apple who is growing and who is now mature. We always have options. We always have players from the diaspora who are doing well. We always have an Zalzouli. We always have an Adli. We have players constantly, but at some point we just need to sit down and say, okay, this is the team that we have. This is the players that we're going to trust and gain some momentum and gain some team spirit. Bottom line, I find we have a good team. We have a good team of players. We have good players who plays in good leagues. So for me, it's more important that this squad that we have are in the right frame of mind, in right shape when we go into the World Cup. So ultimately, Nordin, I'm going to stick with the same team. We're going to stick with the same team. Hopefully, everyone are fit and ready for the World Cup, inshallah.
Like Benjamin, like for instance, Zezuli. If he makes a transfer, he goes to Valencia or something. I don't know, like a team. He plays a very good preseason. He plays a very good 2 months. That's a player who is in form. Okay, I agree. You need to have players who fought with you, but that's someone who wasn't selected. He was selected for AFCON, he didn't come, but with Congo, he came.
Mm-hmm.
Would you not select him based on the fact that he didn't fight with you during the selection?
I would. And when I'm saying I don't want players who wasn't there, I'm not saying that I want the 18 same exact players that was in the playoff. But what I'm saying is that it's just a more of me begging for us not to be so focused on the players who are not there. Yeah, I think it's important also to value the guys that we have, and there will always be one player who is more technical, but we have a good team. So I think it's important to realize and appreciate the guys who are there. And yes, for sure, I think it's important for me. It's not always just about the team and the guys who qualified. Of course, if you have informed players who are doing well, of course you can have them. And guy like Zalzouri, he's a player who could be very important in a tournament, in a knockout stage tournament, because he's someone who can really balance a defense. So for sure, but it's more, I don't like the discussions of we need this player and this player, and all of a sudden we have 8 new players that we want to phase in before a tournament. And like I said, this is a good solid national team. We were not the greatest, and regardless of which player we choose, we will not be the greatest. We will need to rely on other things than just the names on the paper. So ultimately, this is a solid national team squad. So I think it's important not just to look at the names who are not there.
Clear. Abdelfatah, your score for this Thursday against South Africa?
1-0.
1-0. Wow. Benjamin?
I hope it will be a bigger score. I'm looking at the teams, and if you compare, if you put up, because I was going to put a combined 11 of South Africa and Morocco, and I realized it will be all Morocco players. There's no point in combining 11. We have on paper, we have much stronger team than South Africa. So I hope that we really show, and I think South Africa is a team that can suit us well because they are playing a little bit expansive, I think a little bit naive at times. So this is a team that we can really, or Vahid, it's a team that suits him well because he can really use his counterattacks and the direct style of play. So I hope it could be somewhat of a replay of the Guinea match. So I'm going to say maybe a 3 or 4-0. I think he needs it. He really needs it now.
Okay, I will go also for 3-0. Abdelfatah, Benjamin, thank you very much for your time.
What I wanted to say, why I said 0, it would be very interesting to have another 0. We played against Gabon. We conceded. We conceded
10 goals in the last 6 games. 10 goals.
Gabon 2, Malawi 1, Egypt 2, Congo 1, and then
3. Yeah.
The United States. So that would be a very mental boost, I think.
Agree.
If we do not concede,
we will call and ask and demand Vahid, no goals. Gentlemen, thank you very much, and till next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. It was very it was new to do it in English. I don't know if it was okay or not. Let me know in the reactions. Should I do this more often in English with people from Morocco, France, Norway, Belgium, or just stay in Dutch? Whatever you want. Don't forget the thumbs up, very important for me. Don't also forget to subscribe. I'm almost 3,000. I want to make a move to 5,000. So help me out, because a lot of people of you watch, and I love it. I love it for that you watch. But a lot of people don't subscribe. So you watch, but you don't subscribe. So if you want to help me, subscribe, please. Thank you very much. This Thursday we'll be back. Assalamu alaikum.